Hey guys, Dom here, back with another custom card video, and today we have a request, which is shouts. That's right, I had to shout it as well, I'm sorry. So there's not actually that many shout cards in the game. There's one for each attribute and a couple in neutral, and there's a few cards here and there which have synergy with shouts, such as Ulfric, Greybeard, Mentor, and Young Dragonborn. And basically the aim of this video is just to add more to that collection, so let's see how it goes. First of all, we have the neutral shout, Whirlwind Sprint, a 2-cost card which draws a random creature from your deck with 3 power or less, and when it improves it kind of makes it a bit nicer and has more of a range to grab from. So at level 2 that becomes draw a random creature from your deck with 5 power or less, and the main aim of this card is that when any deck just wants to grab any sort of creature, you'd play this card. It's not just restricted for shout decks, making use of it being neutral. And level 3 is then draw 2 random creatures from your deck, so it can still grab 2 free power or less creatures, but now that it's grabbing multiple, it's even better than it was. And as it's only a 2 cost, it's actually very much worthwhile trying to get this shout to level 3. And is still just as balanced because of the effort you have to put in to get it that far to that level in a non-shout deck. Right, so next we have the intelligence card, Slow Time, a shout which makes it so your opponent's creatures cost 1 more next turn. Basically, what I was going for when thinking up this card is that it's made to slow down your opponent's moves, hence slow time, and therefore level 2 is your creatures and actions of your opponent cost 1 more next turn. So it's just one of those things where slowly it means that you've just hindered your opponent, and it's not too powerful. I mean, it is quite strong early on, and if they don't have the ring, it does kind of stump them, but it's not too broken, I don't think, as Wrath of Sithis basically does this as well, but on more of a constant basis, while this is just 1 turn after being hit by that, and it's something that you'd use maybe if you want to outpace your opponent. Okay, so next in agility we have Animal Allegiance. I had a bit of fun with this one. So this will give all animals in your deck +1/+1. Then it will summon an enraged mud crab in each lane, just because, you know, why not? It's 4/2 from a 5 cost, so it's pretty decent, I guess, because of all the +1s. And then at level 2 it will buff all your creatures in deck again, and instead it will summon out Stalking Crocodiles. Just as a disclaimer, these creatures will not receive the buffs from the shouts, so I'd say it is fairly balanced. And then, if you do manage to get to level 3, instead of getting Saber Cats, like in the picture, you get Mountain Lions, just so you get 2 Magicka back on the same turn you play this, which I'd say makes it really worthwhile to get to level 3 and buff up as quickly as you can. Okay, next we have Bend Will, a willpower card, which kind of works a bit like a rest and all the other shenanigans, but this one will steal an enemy creature with 3 power or less. It won't return it at the end of the turn, it won't negate its effect or anything like that, and then at level 2 it will steal an enemy creature with 5 power or less. So to be honest, this is actually very strong because it's stealing cards, maybe to a rate where it should actually be an 8 cost. And at level 3, it's still an enemy creature with 8 power or less, just so it is possible for your opponent not to have their cards stolen by a flippin' shout. I could agree that this one maybe should be an 8 cost, but I'd say that's something that is nice to be debated in the comments and is up for you guys to have your opinions on. Right, moving off to the actual shouts and more onto the synergy now, we have Mirak Cultist, a 2-cost 2/2, which has the ability, when you play a level 3 shout, play all copies of this card from your deck. It's meant to just say deck, not deck or graveyard. I need to emphasize this. Basically, what I didn't think through with this card is that in a good shout deck, you will just keep on playing level 3 shouts. So this would nearly be a lane swarm if it does deck and graveyard. So that's just deck. I know it says deck or graveyard, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. It's just deck. I mean, if you want, it could also be that they cost 0 from the hand when you do this, but that's the ability I meant to give it, and I'd like to hear your feedback on that card because I went a bit wacky with it. Right, next we have the Greybeard Trainer, a 5-cost 2/3, and when he's summoned, it will play a random shout not in your starting deck and add 2 copies of that card to your deck. So let's say you're there with your Crusader shout deck with all the Nords in and you feel like, yeah, this is the best deck I've ever made. You play this card and then you might have your opponent's creature drain Vitality, and they're like, oh, that's not very annoying, but I don't really care. And then you've got 2 more drain Vitalities in your deck, so you could get the level 3 shout off again with that card. It's just a nice way of adding more shouts to your deck and still being able to play 2 attributes, I guess. It's just something that, yeah, will allow your deck to be a lot more diverse, but not breaking the way the game works. So I think this would be a cool card to have added to the game. Now, finally, we have the mighty, the one and only Dovahkiin. Yeah, I thought I'd make it a card, and it's basically like Alduin, but made in such a way that he's probably on par with Alduin, but not, what's the word? I don't want to say he's broken, to be honest, because he's a 20 cost who's immune to all dragons and their abilities. So if it's something like, oh, this dragon battles a creature, he wouldn't take damage from it. If it's Alduin's ability, he ignores it, and he's also able to ignore shouts like Fire Breath and ones like that. And he costs 2 less for each shout in your discard pile. So like Alduin, but instead of dragons, it's action cards basically. And at the end of all of your turns, not your opponent's turns as well, you can draw a random shout and you can play it. So basically, it will just grab a random shout. It doesn't even have to be in your deck. Just a random shout gives you the opportunity to play it at the end of your turn. And if you don't play it, it goes into your hand, a bit like a prophecy. But yeah, that's all that I designed this week. If you guys really like these cards, please like and subscribe. If you didn't like these cards, please comment, tell me why. Don't insult me too much, please. And if you want to see some other cards made custom, well, you know where to request them. So I'll see you next time.